Hey, what's up, Logos American History students? It is Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. It's day 58 overall of our e-learning experience. It is day 8, I think, of term 6. We are just about done with our second week of term 6 because tomorrow's Thursday and we don't have school on Friday. So well done on making it through another week, just about. Let's go ahead and keep this thing rolling. Let's go ahead and get on to our Blackbaud. Get out of here and log into our Blackbaud. There it is. We are on our class page for American History. This is for 4th hour, but if you have American History for 6th hour, it's the same class page. Everything looks the same, including under the e-learning instructions, we have that big red note at the top. Thursday, which is tomorrow, we have a Zoom meeting at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So be looking out, as always, for the link to that. It'll be appearing right here on the bulletin board later today. You'll also be getting messages on Blackbaud and through email inviting you to that Zoom meeting. So just make sure you are ready to go at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And again, the link is easy to find. It'll be on the bulletin board. It'll be under assignments. And it'll be in the emails and messages that I'm sending out. So follow the link at 11 a.m. tomorrow for that Zoom meeting. Besides that, what's on the agenda for today? Let's go ahead and take a look at our Topics tab, which is the next tab to the right from bulletin board. If we click on that, we will continue on with the topic that we have been working on the last couple days. This week we were talking about the 1970s. Last week we were talking about the 1970s with Nixon. This week we're talking about everything that came after Nixon. If we click on the topic, we will see it's all about President Jerry and President Jimmy. There they are, Jerry and Jimmy. Ford and Carter. Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. James Carter. Jimmy Carter was an interesting president. He only served one term, but he was, after Nixon and Watergate and Ford, who pardoned Nixon for Watergate, Americans were really kind of sick of the career politicians and these Washington insiders, and so they took a gamble on an outsider. Jimmy Carter, before he was president, had never really been a senator or any kind of national political experience. He had been a governor of Georgia for about 4 years. Before that, he owned a peanut farm. He was a peanut farmer. His family owned a peanut farm, and he took over the family business. Before that, he was in the Navy, and he was a nuclear engineer on nuclear submarines. So he was very intelligent, but he's also just kind of an old country boy. He's a Christian minister, right? And I say is. Jimmy Carter is still around. Jimmy Carter is the oldest living former president ever. He is like 97 years old. He still to this day will teach Sunday school lessons down in Georgia once a month. He still helps out with an organization that he helped found called Habitat for Humanity. Have you ever heard of that? They build houses for homeless people. Jimmy Carter is just a really, really good guy. And I love this photo of Jimmy Carter. This right here, to me, sums up Jimmy Carter, right? There he is. There's President Carter, right? Not dressed like we would expect a president to be dressed, right? But there he is in his USA hat and his blue jeans and his fishing pole, and that's just how I picture Jimmy Carter, right? When he's not teaching Sunday school, he's out there on the lake fishing. Just a normal guy, but also very, very smart, obviously. Arguably the highest IQ president we've ever had. Now, did that translate to him being a good president? Well, that's what this section's all about. If you look at the download for the reading, it's chapter 25, section 5, the last section of chapter 25. And if we click on that download, we see it's all about the Carter administration. 4 years of President Jimmy Carter. Again, he he tried. He tried to do the best he could. He was just a normal guy and a good guy. He really cares about people. Um, but you know, there's more to being the president than that. And just as we found with Nixon and Ford, he inherited some problems of the 1970s that he couldn't fix, just like Ford and Nixon couldn't fix them. Um, we saw this going back to Nixon, the energy crisis, right? Energy issues, OPEC and oil and all this, right? Those issues just got worse and worse and worse. The economy didn't get any better under Carter. Unemployment, inflation continued to be a problem, and Carter tried to fix it, but just like Ford and Nixon before him, he just made it worse, right? Carter got involved a lot, and we'll see every president after Carter will continue this, in foreign policy involving what's known as the Middle East, better known as Southwest Asia, part of the world that is formerly known as the Middle East, but more appropriately called Southwest Asia. Southwest Asia involves a lot of countries, including Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. These are all countries we've heard of because the United States has been very involved with these countries for a long time. Israel. And the question is, why? Why are we so involved? Why do we become so involved beginning in the 70s and have been for the past 40, 50 years? Well, a big answer to that question is oil, right? That's where all the oil is, and America uses more oil than any country on earth. And so keeping that oil accessible to the United States is a big deal. And so when you wonder why we're so tied up in events in Iran and in Afghanistan and with Israel, a lot of it has to do with oil. And so that's, there are many crises surrounding the Middle East during Carter's administration, which again, he didn't handle the best, involving Iran and involving the Soviet Union invading Afghanistan. All this is in this section, and we see that when Jimmy runs for a second term in 1980, he loses. But we do have 4 reading comprehension questions to answer here. And as always, you'll find those in a couple places. You find it embedded right here as a Google form. You'll also find that Google form accessible if we go into assignments. There's the assignment for Chapter 25, Section 5. You can either submit those questions, those answers to those questions through the online submission or through the Google form. And then, of course, we have our question of the day. And let's take a look at this question of the day. Because as I mentioned before, we really start to see our foreign policy center around Southwest Asia. And it's not a coincidence that that is where most of the world's oil is located. And so the question is, do you think America should find a way to lower our dependency on foreign oil? If so, why and how, right? Those are 2 separate questions. The why, well, it's a fossil fuel, right? It's in limited supply, eventually going to run out, and when you burn it, it causes greenhouse gases to be emitted, right? So that's a good reason why we should. But also, again, foreign is the key word here, right? It's because of our dependency on foreign oil that we must be so involved in these places, right? And again, when we start to learn about terrorism, right, and what led to 9/11 and Al-Qaeda and ISIS, right, those groups arose because of our involvement as a backlash to America's involvement in those places, in those people's countries, right? They don't want us there. They don't want us there taking their oil. But we're going to do it as long as we need oil. We can't produce enough oil ourselves to meet America's demands. So the question is, if we should, then how? What is the alternative? This chapter talks about nuclear energy. There's that, right? But there's other alternative sources of energy too. So I want to know what you guys think. This is a very pertinent issue for now, and I know a lot of people your age are very in tune with this issue. So answer the question of the day and answer those 4 reading comprehension questions for Chapter 25, Section 5. And if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing all of you at 11 a.m. tomorrow for the Zoom meeting. Peace.